it's pretty damn clear that the globalist utopians are willing to sacrifice the poor for the sake of the planet. And they're doing that by cranking energy prices up through the roof, and that means that people die. Lomborg has estimated that maybe you have to turn your thermostat down by 3 degrees, right? Save the planet. We don't have enough energy. We'll pay you not to use your electricity between 5 and 6, which is what they're doing in the UK. You turn your damn thermostat down 3 degrees, that sounds like nothing. But if you're old, that radically increases the probability that you'll get a respiratory disease and die. And if the Europeans would have had a cold winter, and that could still happen, Lomborg estimated it'd wipe out 135,000 people. It's like, well, we're just making energy more expensive. It's like, what do you mean you're just doing that? So imagine the economic system. It's a pyramid. There's a bunch of people at the top. They have almost all the money. That's par for the course for any productive system. Any system that's productive ends up with a distribution like that. It's like a law of nature. And then you move farther down the pyramid till you get down to the bottom where most of the people are, and they're barely clinging on to the edge of reality, right? It doesn't take much of a crisis to tip them into, death. And then you crank up energy prices. Well, what happens is you just take a bunch of those people at the bottom of the distribution, the poor that the left is so, hypothetically concerned with, and they're just done. They go from barely hanging on to not hanging on. And their kids go from having some ghost of a chance of opportunity to having none. And I could see this coming. You really saw it happening in Germany and the UK, where we have this absolute rat's nest of way more expensive energy. And this is where it gets extremely perverse. You might say, okay, look, we have to save the future poor. And so now some of the present poor are going to have to suffer. Well, that's convenient for you if you happen not to be one of those poor people, but let's give the devil his due and say, okay. It's like, that'd be fine with me. Not really. That'd be fine with me if the consequence of your actions, raising energy prices, for example, actually produced an improvement in those things you wanted to improve. So, for example, energy is more expensive, but now the air is cleaner. But that isn't what's happened in Germany.
Right.
What's happened in Germany is energy is like 5 times as expensive, and the coal plants are back on. So it's like, even by your own criteria for success, you failed, and you did it at the expense of the poor. And, the World Bank estimated, I don't remember how many months ago, it's probably 9 months ago, that we're putting 350 million people on the brink of starvation because we're cranking energy prices up. And so for me, it's like, that's 350 million people. That's 3 times as many as the communists killed, in their 6 decades of trying. And if your cure for the planet is, well, we got to put 350 million poor people in jeopardy just so that things are hypothetically better in 100 years, I think, yeah, I don't think so, buddy. And also, it's a little bit too convenient for me that your prescriptions to save the planet are accompanied by this insistence that the only way forward to that is to give you all the power. It's like, there's a bit of a moral hazard in that, don't you think? It's like, I'm just saving the planet. Give me all the power. It's like, you want to save the planet, or do you want the power? And let's put the second one first, because the probability that you're a saint or the Messiah is pretty damn low. So that's the danger of the Davos crowd.
It's a very bizarre narrative that doesn't get challenged. And I don't hear this very nuanced, complex perspective like what you're laying out right now. I don't hear that often. And no, I don't hear it at all. I hear it from you and maybe a couple other people that I actively seek out. But you would think that when you're dealing with such a complex issue that you would want to see the most brilliant minds think out, how does this play out?
Yeah, like okay.
What are the consequences?
Well, so let's think about what mitigates against that. Okay, so first of all, young people are looking for a productive and visionary pathway forward. We already covered that a bit. But then there's a dark side of that too, and the dark side of that for everyone is that our reputations are very important to us. They're our most crucial currency, and what that means is that we're tempted to elevate our reputations in an undeserved manner, and we do that to gain social status with very little work, and so we're tilted towards being tempted by theories that provide us with an easy way forward to that. And so one is, well, I'm a good person. Well, how do I know that? Well, I'm concerned about the planet. Well, that's a complex problem, the planet, right? That's a trillion problems, not one. I'm concerned about the planet, therefore I'm good. But that's complicated. You got to take it apart. No, you don't. You just say, well, the planet only has one problem. Well, what's that? Untrammeled industrial activity and the rapacious nature of the consumer. Okay, what's the output? Too much carbon dioxide. Okay, I'm against carbon dioxide. Well, bang, you're the messiah, with no work. And then someone like Lomberg comes along and says, hold on there, guys. We got like 30 problems, not one. And we need to rank order the problems, and we need to do a differentiated analysis. And your idiot interventions are going to cause nothing but unintended consequences. And no one wants to hear that because, number one, it's complicated. You got to read the damn book and you got to think through his arguments. And number two, well, now where are you going to get your cheap moral virtue? You can't just be the messiah by waving a banner that says, I don't like carbon dioxide. And so that runs against a very, very deep narcissism.